Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Always exciting when we have our friend here, Dr. Mamiko Odegard. She's joining us here today to talk more. Well, we're going to follow up on what we did last week, but we really have a lot in store for you all. And listeners, we're going to open up the phone lines today as well. 631-307-4010. That's 631-307-4010. If you have any questions as we continue. So let's start. Last time, what did we dive into?
Well, last time we're talking about unhealthy love characteristics. And so for those of people that had gotten confused by the long list, and I'm talking about a list of about 40, 50 different characteristics of unhealthy, and also for new listeners, let me just briefly go through some of them so that when we talk about unhealthy relationships, that's a big category. And there are certain behaviors that go along, such as being emotionally, verbally abused by your partner, and physical abuse as well. But there can be criticism, there can be put downs. That person can be too controlling, jealous, and you can't trust that person because he or she will cheat on you and lie about it, and then will minimize, ridicule your feelings, and is possessive and jealous, so that your circle of friends and family becomes smaller and smaller. Because when you're in an abusive or an unhealthy relationship, that person likes to be in control. And the way that he or she can be in control is to cut you off from your support system, because guess what? Your support system might say, this person isn't the right person for you. Look what he's doing to you. Look how you've changed since you've been in this relationship. And so there's a lot of things that are a cluster of characteristics that points to what your partner is doing. But also in an unhealthy relationship, you're going to feel sad, you're going to feel stressed, you're going to feel uncertain, you're going to feel lower self-esteem. It's going to be hard for you to focus. And sometimes all you can think about is this partner that's putting you down, how you can please him, how you can change, how how you can be more of that person that you are striving to be, to just keep the peace. And so you find yourself being like the rescuer and caretaker and trying to change, and then those emotions really well up. And so you find it hard to trust your own feelings because you feel like you really are starting to fall in love with this person. But at the same time, the people around you are saying, no, this is not a healthy relationship. And one of the big hallmarks, besides that, the interactions, is that communication pattern, because your partner doesn't get you. And that partner then tries to change your feelings or makes you seem like you're crazy. It's that gaslighting thing, or tries to blame you for all the problems. And so you might feel trapped. You feel like it's harder to trust your feelings. And you get into a big conflict, and there can be great frequency and depth of arguments that take place. So it's not just one indicator. It's a multitude. And the one way you can test it out is to say, okay, how am I feeling? Am I feeling energized? Am I, feeling like I'm really in love? And because if you are, then you have a partner that supports you and you feel energetic, you feel optimistic in terms of facing each day. But this way, in an unhealthy relationship, you feel like all the burden is on your shoulders. So it's not just one symptom, it's the complex, the conglomerate of behaviors and the way that person treats you and how you feel inside.
Beautiful. Exactly. And again, if you are just tuning in, Dr. Mamiko, congratulations again. She's our professional of the year here. And we're excited to have you all here. Hopefully tune in today and chat with us. The line's open, 631-307-4010. Maybe people have some questions, right?
That's right. Exactly. Because one of the things that we'd love to hear from the listeners is, what sort of partners have you attracted? or are attracting? Is it a pattern? Is it a consistent pattern? So as an example, the people that you end up attracting have some sort of substance abuse disorder, or are they neglecting your feelings? Do they put you down? Do they have the inability to really understand and get you, or not be able to get close to you? And so that's why I'd really like to hear some of the concerns that you have about the type of person that you're attracting, so that we could have a real discussion and you can feel like there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's some actual steps that you
Hmm.
can take to make healthier decisions, to have better relationships. And when I
Yeah.
talk about better relationships, it's not just romantic love relationships.
Hmm.
It's also with family
Oh,
as
yeah.
well as friends. And
I was just going
if
to
you
say,
are
can you,
your
yeah,
best self,
tell
you're
us
going
some
to
of these
be
red
elevating
flags?
those
It's
others.
romantic and friendships we're talking about here. Yep.
Right. Exactly. So that's why, it's so important for us to notice the type of patterns of the people that are attracting. Are they using us? And
Hmm.
once we fulfill their needs, they're off, and, they ignore us, they forget about us. We're not a priority in our lives. So, what I want you to be really honest with yourself is to see and ask yourself, who am I attracting? And
Hmm.
am I just settling so that
Hmm.
I'm in a relationship? So let me talk about that part, because there's a whole group of us that get into what's called addictive love relationships. So this addictive love relationship is just as strong as chemical dependency. And when somebody has broken up with a partner, they'll be crying, they'll be sad, and all of that. But they'll also talk about how their stomach hurts or how their heart actually aches. So not only can we have the emotional symptoms, but
Oh,
we
it
can
gets
have
physical.
and
Yeah.
a type of withdrawal. And
Yeah.
that's why I want you to know that it's really easy when you are having this so much internal, emotional, and physical pain to go out looking and settle for anybody that you can have in a relationship. And it might be just a one night stand, because sex for some people is equated to love. And that's what I want you to know, is that sex is not love. Sex is lust, and sex is a way of another person being able to use you. And you don't want to be able to get into that, because that's not satisfying. It's not everlasting. And what
Hmm.
you want is somebody that's going to be there for you, not someone that's here today and then gone tomorrow, as they say. Right. So that's why the basic message that I'm saying is, don't just look at the patterns of people that you attract, but begin to look at it like, what is it about us that is attracting that sort of person? Maybe you want to comment on that, Joe.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have my own things I'm stuck with, and I don't know why I attract what I do, but I do. Attract the same type of person all the time. And that is a pattern problem. I know that's a problem, but I just laugh about it at this point because I'm like 47. I'm like, it's like a vicious circle. I attract the mostly insecure, jealous men. Is that what I really want deep down? Am I saying I want a jealous man? I don't. So why am I attracting it? I don't understand. What am I doing
Well,
wrong? What am I supposed to be
Well,
doing?
and this is where your
Yeah.
friends and family really can't help you. Because if you're
No.
attracting those sorts of men that are insecure and all that, then they're going to demand more and more and more of you. And then you begin to lose yourself. But
Yeah.
not only that, you know, it's like one dysfunctional pattern starts and then it begins to mushroom, right? And so
Always.
I want you to know that you can't be your best in terms of dealing with limited information, because you've got to be able to talk to a professional about it to really know, like, what steps can you take? What are the red flags that we talked about last time and today? And then do you even know what healthy love is? You know, because
Ah, yeah.
because so many of us grew up in families that were dysfunctional, and so
Mm-hmm.
we knew what true love really is, what it feels like. We were never
Ah,
treated with positive regard, but instead we were shamed and put down and criticized. So it's natural. So in that sort of environment,
got it.
that's
Yep.
what we were raised with. And so we keep repeating the pattern over and over and over with other people that we meet because that's familiar. So when that person begins to put us down, guess what? It's like, wow, I think I really like him. When
Right.
it's the furthest thing from the truth because it's something that you're familiar with, you're comfortable. But there's this part in especially women that we think we can change our man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we give enough tenderness, love, support that this partner has never had, then he's going to rise to the occasion and he's going to know what real love is. But the fact of the matter is, you don't know what real love is because
Mm-hmm.
you haven't really experienced it on a consistent basis. And so, how can you give the well and the well goes dry and the person just takes all of your
Yeah.
juices with him or her, right?
Mm.
So that's why I'm saying it's so important that you have an outside perspective and someone who can serve as your guide to really hold your hand and to be with you every step of the way to say, this is what your triggers are. These are
Yeah.
your attachments. Like we've in the literature, not only have you heard of the love addict, but you also have heard of the love avoidant. And the love avoidant is the person who gets together with you because there's some things about you that are appealing, and that person really thinks, well, I don't know if I'm going to do better, but I'm going to get with this person because this person is nice. Look at all the favors and the help that he or she has given me. And so you get into this relationship. But the problem is that because it's interesting in terms of
Yeah.
dynamics, the love addict can be attracted to someone who's love avoidant. And so, this love avoidant just not consciously necessarily, but finds different situations to blow up the relationship. Like you'll do something or say something and the person overreacts, and it gives that person an excuse to back away from the relationship.
Yes.
Right. And so then, being the love addict, he or she's going to get into addictive behaviors, primarily, sexual and physical, stimulation and contact. And so they're out hanging at the bars or, whatever as a way to meet other people. And then this whole cycle keeps returning of that person being attracted to someone else who is not available. Because at the bottom of all this is a fear of intimacy for the love avoidant. You can't get too close. And it might not be your partner, it might be you. So
Mm-hmm.
that as soon as things are going really smooth, all of a sudden, out of the
Bam.
blue, there's something that happens that blows up the relationship. So it's like, come closer, we blow up, and then you get into your own addictive behaviors. Or, and when I say addictive, online and chatting and flirting with other people and so forth. And you do that as a medicator and as
Yeah.
escape. But what it ends up is you keep getting the same type of person over and over because the real problem is with the person that's inside where you haven't dealt with those fears of abandonment or fears of intimacy. And so when you do find someone who's really attentive and nice, it's like it doesn't compute. And so that person, you're just not attracted
No,
to
they
that.
lose. Yeah, and that's
You're
probably the best
attracted to the
match.
person that will leave you, right?
Yeah, interesting. And I think our listeners are shy today, but please give us a call if you have any questions. 631-307-4010. The lines are open. We are here talking about relationships. It's something everyone likes to talk about, friendships, love, romance, but she is an expert, and honestly, she can help you through anything. And we're talking about these patterns today of unhealthy relationships, whether someone's maybe emotionally, physically abusive, critical of you. There's always these patterns. So, it sounds like, there's many unhealthy relations, right? And as you say, we've seen missing pieces in yourself. So we're attracting the deficiencies and weaknesses in you. Better relationships with
Right.
others have
That
everything
is
to
so
do with
well
how you.
put because
Yes,
we tend to attract people that are equally as healthy as we are, or in this case,
not as
unhealthy,
healthy.
attracting unhealthy relationships. And so, if we're going to change it, we can't be just thinking, oh, I just haven't met Mr. or Ms. Right. I've got to do some real constructive work on myself so that I'm really realizing before I get into these relationships what I'm doing and how I can change this. So, at the very beginning of these podcasts, I had talked about beliefs and feelings. And that's something that I want you to be aware of is that sometimes we carry beliefs that really, trip us up because we think that we're unworthy or we're not attractive or nobody's going to love us. And so we're ready to just accept the scraps of any relationship. And I'm
Yeah.
just saying to you, you deserve the best that life has to offer. Don't
Mhm.
settle. Don't just accept whatever is left over. And a lot of, our listeners could make this excuse like, well, you know what? All the good ones are taken. I'm in my
Mhm.
40s, I'm in my 50s, so forth, or the people that I know are divorced, or the
Yes.
people that I know that really, I'm attracted to are already attached. So there are a lot of people out there that are healthy. And, we started out by saying love is all around you. And that's where I want you to have the faith and the courage to really do some work on yourself. So when the healthy, right type of person comes along, you know how to sustain the relationship because this is not about just a chemical attraction to each other. It's about how you really make it work with love, with genuineness, with kindness, with words, the way you communicate, the way you can resolve differences. So you can be proactive. You can
Yeah.
be that internal force where you can change your history. You can
Yeah.
change the patterns of the people that you're attracted to, and you can change yourself so that you start with this love affair with
With
yourself.
yourself. You got to learn to love yourself. And time again, you hear that. But people also say, well, how does this work? How am I going to talk to you? How am I going to open up? People are nervous and scared to talk about their insecurities, their faults, their. So, how do you make someone feel so comfortable? I feel comfortable talking with you, but really,
Well, thank you. You know, First of all, whoever comes to talk to me either in person or, virtually, there's total acceptance and there's a lack of judgment. So no matter what you say to me, like whether you're bipolar or whether you've been abused or whatever, doesn't make you defective. And so what I want you to know is that everybody, you especially, deserve happiness, deserve love, no matter what you've done. And so there are ways that you can reboot basically and really have kind of like a rebirth of who you are, who you want to be. And I'm just saying that this is all possible, but you can't do it yourself because you don't know the roadmap. You don't have the blueprint as to how to be your best self. And so let me help you because the first thing that I will do with you, besides hearing you and giving you respect and tenderness, is that I will give you hope and not just hope, but actual, step by step blueprint as to how we could work together to really make sure that you are your best self and that the people that you are attracting are worthy of you.
ah, yeah. How do you know if you're worthy? How do you know? My goodness, you got to have We're going to build self-confidence. We're going to learn how to love ourselves. And we always talk about that. Act on love too, right? So hold on.
Right. Act on love
We got to break
towards
the
yourself
cycle,
and others.
create healthier, loving you. Dr. Mamiko, how do we do this?
Yeah. So, you know, what it starts with that first call. And so, one of the things that I want you to know is that every time you face your fears, you grow. And using myself as an example, I signed up to do a series of podcasts. Well, I've done radio interviews,
Oh my God.
television
Yeah.
interviews, that sort of thing, but I've never done a series. And so this is a whole new ball game for me. And, so I had all these things in my mind as to would I do it or not. But I realized that I needed to spread the word. I
Yeah.
needed to reach as many people as possible. And just doing it one-on-one or two-in-one, if I'm working with a couple, wasn't going to change the world fast enough. And so I rose to the challenge. And I actually am happy that I did that because this is
Wait, don't tell me
each
this is like
week
our
when
last
we get
show and you're
together,
saying
it's
goodbye
like a
now.
review of all the things that I've been talking about for over the past 30 years. And it's really fun to energize a new audience and to be able to give you hope and love. And so I share that with you that when you take that first step, whether it's for coaching or counseling or reaching out to me, that there's going to be growth that's there.
Aw,
Because again, remember that phrase, the universe rewards action. And
yeah.
that's what you got to do, or otherwise things are going to stay the same or it's going to get worse. And I want you to be the best agent of change for yourself.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. But are you saying this is our last podcast?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
I'm
okay. I
not
was like,
saying
oh, I
that at
didn't know.
all.
All
But
right,
I'm
good,
just
good.
saying
All
that
right,
that's
good,
the way to get started.
good. Well,
Because,
I thank you
what
so
I'm doing
much.
is with the podcast, I'm doing like, bits and pieces, and I'm talking to a general audience. But it's very different when I talk with couples
No,
or
no,
individuals
absolutely.
one-on-one because everything that I do is totally customized. And I
Hmm.
want to know about you. I want to know about your history. I want to know about, your hopes and dreams, as well as your pain, because living in pain and suffering is optional. You don't have to do
Beautiful.
that.
All right. Thank you so much. Dr. Amika, one more time, how do we contact you?
Yes, so just go to www.actonlove.com.
Perfect.
Actonlove.com. You'll see my phone number. It's toll free, and you can leave a voicemail, and then you can leave me times as to when we can connect with each other. And I promise you that I will spend as much time as needed so that we can truly have a connection and that you can have some concrete steps of
Beautiful.
growing and being your best self.
Thank you so much, sweetheart. Enjoy the rest of the day. We appreciate you. Bye bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.